It's a cool jersey. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that ridiculous game and this ridiculous little tournament. So, do you listen to the podcast? What was I talking about? Oh, Team Europe would barely make the playoffs in the NHL. How many teams in the NHL could beat them? You know, it's been really sad watching Zdeno Chara. Man, he's old. 5 minutes in, Zdeno Chara comes in, snipes 1-0 lead for Team Europe over Canada. Shut up, Steve! And whatever, this isn't the first time Canada's been losing at this tournament. This had a very similar feel to when they were playing Team USA. Okay, a team with a lot to prove, wanted to beat Canada real badly, comes out and they get the early lead. Alright, well Canada's way better, so they just come back and crush them, right? And then Ralph Kruger morphed Team Europe into the 2003 Minnesota Wild. Forget Team Europe, Team Metapod, or at very least Team Kakuna. Alright, it's your turn, attack! Team Europe used Harden. That didn't do any damage, but okay, it's your turn again, go! Team Europe used Harden, and for some reason it was super effective. Canada gets the puck, they get stuffed at the blue line, Europe chips it out. Canada gets the puck, they dump it into the zone, Europe chips it out. Canada gets the puck, and they get stuffed at the blue line again. Holy smokes, I can't wait for another 45 minutes of this! Which isn't entirely true. In the third period, it got enraging. But Carey Price had to actually come up huge for Canada a few times. Plus, he got trucked there in the second period, and I was sitting within eye shot of Marc Bergevin, and I was just like, And he was a lot calmer about it than I would have been. I would have been screaming like, that guy tried to kill my job! Don't you mean your goalie? Same thing! And then I will let Down Goes Brown take it from here. Oh, I know. Isn't it perfect? It's too perfect. Patrice Bergeron, excellent tip in, and the puck goes in, and they review it. Everyone in the ACC, yeah, no, don't you dare! But as Bruins fans and Corsi believers know, Patrice Bergeron would never do anything wrong. The goal stands. It's a tie game! Because Anze Kopitar and LA King took a penalty. And here's how LA King, Marian Gaborik felt about it. Oh, someone's salty. But it's okay, because that would be the end of LA Kings behaving badly. Drew Doughty takes a penalty, and I didn't realize that I get parental when the team I'm cheering for gets a penalty, because I just went, Drew! That's one step removed from, you're grounded! Why didn't I yell at the ref instead? I don't know. And I was super nervous for this penalty kill, but I know one guy who wasn't. Mike Babcock. Listen to this clip. Everyone was talking about the Toronto clip, which we'll get to. This is the most gangster thing I've ever heard a head coach say.
Drew Doughty takes that ice-taking penalty, you think what?
Kill the penalty. You know what, I don't know, did we give up a power play goal in the tournament? I don't think we did. So we just thought we'd kill it.
Well, you know, we got a penalty, so I just thought kill the penalty. Oh, yeah, Mike, yeah, that sounds like a great concept. Okay, now apply that to something else.
I'm thrilled to be here in Toronto, to win this in Toronto. This is just a sign of what's going to happen here in Toronto, too, just so you know. This is a special thing to do for Canada. And now we got to do it in Toronto. See you guys.
Well, you know, I wanted to win the cup, so I just thought, you know, let's win the cup, and so we won a cup. Yes, that's better, except you only said one cup. And with that much confidence in the penalty kill, geez, you might as well play a little offense. Jonathan Toews streaking in, he's putting on some moves, but Team Europe is giving him a lot of respect. And Brad Marchand is allowed to do what he's done since the beginning of the tournament, be underappreciated. Receives the pass behind him, great, because the shot's already cocked, shoots, scores! And he blows the roof off the Air Canada Center. I love the Boston Bruins. I'm gonna take a shower with bleach. Oh, but then I'll have blonde hair, and if I wear a black shirt, it'll be like a Bruins jersey. No, that's the moral conundrum that all Team Canada fans had in this tournament, was cheering for that guy, but holy smokes, he was good. Clock ticks down. Canada wins! So, now, let's talk about a few things. One, Sidney Crosby gets tournament MVP, and this, once again, was Sidney Crosby winning the tournament MVP when he probably should have, but the sexier pick would have been the guy scoring all the goals. For the Conn Smythe, could have been Phil Kessel, easily, and for this, I think it could have been Brad Marchand, easily. He was one of Canada's best players, arguably their best player, and he scored the tournament-winning goal. But go look at a bunch of his goals. A lot of them were something out of nothing plays created by Crosby. And as for Team Europe, oh my god, you have nothing to be ashamed of. And now we have this huge conundrum. Because what was the joke? What was the big thing that everyone, especially us on the podcast, made fun of? It's the World Cup. It's an international tournament. And you got 2 teams out of 8 that aren't even countries! A quarter of the teams! And then wouldn't you know it, who didn't fall in love with these guys? Team North America was electric. They were exciting. They were edge of your seat hockey. I would argue they had the 2 best games of the tournament tournament against Russia and Sweden in terms of entertainment value. We're going to remember this Game 2 Canada-Europe for its finish, but the game as a whole was a dog pile. I mean, brilliant strategy, but I thought hockey was dying one shift at a time. But to Europe's credit, as the other gimmick team, they made it to the final. So after the reception that Team North America got, and after the performance that Team Europe had, and I mean, you can't take away from the performance of Team North America either, but Europe pushed Canada. How don't you have these two teams back for the next World Cup? And oh, by the way, the next World Cup. So, a lot of people have been talking about the success or failure of the tournament. Okay, so it's made a bunch of money. It was an NHL project, and that's nice. The owners got a bunch of money. The players got some money, but it's spread amongst more people. It's all fun and games because the season hasn't started yet, but there are a lot of teams who are going to be missing significant parts of their team because of this tournament. The LA Kings don't have Gaborik. The Panthers won't have Ekblad. The Stars might not have Seguin. But let's face it, I don't think injuries are going to be what stops this tournament. So, why were there so many empty seats during so many of the games? And here's what it is. I went to a bunch of games throughout this tournament. And you know which games did the best, save Game 2, and we'll get to that? The games that didn't go head-to-head against the Blue Jays. Because fans in Toronto have been invested in this team. They had a crazy season last year, great playoff run. The season started in April, and they've been following the whole way, and now it's come down to the final few games in a playoff push, and they may or may not make it, and they're all crucial series, and you don't know what's going to happen. Or you could go to the semifinal game between Europe and Sweden. Or for basically the same amount of money, maybe less, probably less, you could see Team Sweden take on Team Europe in the semi-final. I'm one of the biggest hockey fans there is, and if I have tickets to both and I have to decide, I'm going to the Jays. So then Game 1 of the World Cup final comes along. The Jays are playing, and Team Canada and Team Europe are playing. There's a bunch of empty seats. Thursday comes along. It's Game 2 of the World Cup final, and the Jays are playing again, but the building is packed in the ACC. And what happened to the Jays? I mean, the game is still as significant, if not more significant, than the one before. Yes, but a lot of people are expecting to see a trophy get handed out in the ACC this night, and that's what it is. In Toronto, right now, we're kind of spoiled. You're going to go to the game that means the most, the game with the trophy at stake. And the other thing, I talked about the investment in the Blue Jays that the city has. What investment do they have in the World Cup? What investment does anyone have in it? The tournament hasn't happened since 2004, and before that it was 1996. I was posting my journals from when I was like 7, 8 years old on social media. I was jacked for the World Cup. I was so excited in 1996. And since then, I remember the tournament. I remember Mike Richter standing on his head. I remember hating Brett Hall as a kid, and I remember the performance. And over the years, and you've probably even heard me say it on the podcast, I've talked about those games and forgotten what they were for. I was like, was that the Olympics? No. Was that the World Championships? No. I forgot about the World Cup. So, you gotta look at the success or failure of this thing in Toronto. And you gotta either do the World Cup or don't. None of this, oh, we're doing the World Cup! Ah, we're not doing the World Cup for like almost a decade. Oh, we're doing the World Cup! Ah, now we're not doing the World Cup for over a decade. Now we're doing the World Cup! Now, the big talk is the World Cup replacing the Olympics. The NHL, I know they're chest thumping over this. You're not there yet. Simply not. The game in Canada is enormous. The game in the States is behind a bunch of other sports, but it's still enormous. It's pretty big in a few countries, but that's about it. I met two girls at the World Cup of Hockey, and they traveled all the way from England. They were wearing Cardiff Devils jerseys, and I said, what brings you here? They said, well, we're actually Team USA fans. They sounded more British than this. We're actually Team USA fans, but we fell in love with hockey watching TJ Oshie at the 2014 Sochi Olympics. So because of the Olympics that are a pain in the ass for the NHL, and the Olympics, I don't know, I think it was they don't want to pay for travel, and there's some insurance issues. The Olympics in Sochi brought these girls across the Atlantic Ocean so they could pour money into this tournament. They bought tickets, I'm sure they got merch, and you think it's going to end there? You think they're going to come all the way to watch this tournament and then never spend a dime on the NHL ever again? This isn't about wallets. It's about hearts and minds, which are owned by human beings who have wallets. The NHL is getting too caught up in money and forgetting why people spend money on the first place. And let's not forget, the next Olympics, the next Winter Olympics, are in South Korea. The KHL, the Continental Hockey League, just started a team in China. And while the KHL, yes, 'tis a silly place, and dollars and cents literally don't seem to matter over there, there is a lesson to be learned. And I think I speak on behalf of most hockey fans, the vast majority of hockey fans, when I say, World Cup or Olympics? World Cup or Olympics? World Cup or Olympics? Do both, you maniacs! The World Cup is every 4 years, the Olympics are every 4 years, they're 2 years apart. There's your format! Congrats, I just did the work for you, you don't even have to pay me. I will pay you, as a matter of fact. If you just leave your ego at the door, I'm sure people will be dying to leave you money at that same door. So, questions of the video. What did you think of the World Cup? Were you interested? Were you into it? Do you think the NHL could survive if they skip on the Olympics and they just go with this whole World Cup thing? Who do you think should be host of the next World Cup? Should it stay in Toronto? Should it stay in Canada, but in a different city? Should Crosby have been the tournament MVP? Maybe it should have been Marchand. Maybe it should have been Carey Price. And how excited are you for Puck Drop? The other one, the NHL Puck Drop. Oh my god, I'm so tired, I need to sleep. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Holy smokes, I just passed 10 million views. Thank you so much, and congratulations to Team Canada for being World Cup champions. And congrats to TNA for being the People's Champions. I will never let go, Jack!